opportunities. The adverse conditions in my own industry all combined was overwhelming. Oddly, I suppose I chose this time to make a major career and business change. I was determined to make this worst time of my life the ideal time to transform my life. Everything was in turmoil, so why not? For a long time, I'd been considering using all my successful experience in commercial real estate to establish myself as the first and leading business coach and advisor in commercial real estate. There are, of course, a lot of trainers serving residential agents, but I created commercial real estate coaching, beginning right then in the midst of all the chaos in my life. In the first 12 months, I reinvented my life, then my income went up by 50%, then it tripled. I'm now in demand as a speaker at commercial real estate conferences and events, and the best commercial real estate brokers in the business have me coach them. In 2001, I got married again to a fantastic woman, and we have a wonderful 4-year-old daughter. I've had a phenomenon experience, and I'm ready for my next one. What I would say about the phenomenon is that timing does not control it, and does not need to control you. Circumstances do not control it, and do not need to control you.
The phenomenon can occur in any business. Jim Gillespie told us that it can occur at any time, even at a bad time. Still, the business cliche, timing is everything, does hold many people back. Brothers Bill and Steve Harrison certainly shoot holes in that idea.
We're in the business of helping entrepreneurs, authors, and others make themselves and their businesses famous through free publicity. We've helped launch best-selling books like Chicken Soup for the Soul and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and our clients have appeared on top national TV shows like Oprah, Good Morning America, Fox News, and The Today Show. For years, we had a nice family business, but when the airplanes crashed into the World Trade Center on September 11th, our business suddenly crashed too.
People forget, but right after 9/11, the stock market also plummeted. The whole country was confused, afraid, and paralyzed. Our phones stopped ringing overnight, and sales really tanked. At the time, we had 19 employees, inadequate reserves, and things got so bad so quickly, we were tapping our credit cards just to make payroll. The bills were mounting, and I even had to cash in my retirement account just to stay afloat. Pretty soon, we were on the brink of letting everyone go and closing up shop completely.
Those were dark days, but that's when the phenomenon really began for us. We were hemorrhaging cash, and when you needed to make things happen fast, we realized we'd been so busy promoting other people that we weren't applying what we knew to promoting ourselves and our own business. And Dan Kennedy showed us we've been grossly undercharging for our expertise.
In less than a year, we completely reinvented our business. Instead of just being a service business, we decided to also offer tools, information, and training for anyone who wants to get a ton of free exposure and publicity for whatever they're promoting. Today, we offer various publications, directories, training courses, and seminars, all designed to help people generate sales through free publicity. In just 12 months, our business went from the edge of extinction to being almost completely debt-free and more profitable than ever. Most recently, we added our Quantum Leap coaching program to help people market themselves through free publicity, as well as our $1 Million Author Crash Course. And in just 12 months, those two programs went from zero to almost $1 million in revenue.
There are obviously many factors that kicked off our first phenomenon that we now understand and can repeatedly use. A big one is to not to undervalue yourself or your knowledge. People will gladly pay you well for what you know if what you teach really works. For example, today our publicity seminars routinely sell out at a per-person fee 400% higher than what we initially believed we could charge, but they're still a bargain for the right people. And we're certainly glad Dan Kennedy challenged us to charge what we're really worth. The main point I'd make is this: timing is just not relevant. Circumstances don't matter. Your motto should be no waiting. If there are changes you need or want to make, don't wait for the time to be right or conditions to be better or some disaster to force your hand. Get started now.
The Harrisons have raised the issue of undervaluing and underpricing. Many business owners are timid about price. Dr. Charles Martin is not one of them. He is by far the highest fee dentist in Richmond, Virginia, yet he has a waiting list practice, almost never advertises, and patients coming to him from all over the country, even overseas. What does he know about valuing yourself that others don't?
As an experiencedpreneur, I've cracked the code on how to charge more and have your clients, customers, and patients love it. In my own boutique dental practice with emphasis on cosmetic and implant dentistry and comprehensive makeovers, the majority of my cases involve fees from $40,000 to over $90,000. This is about 12 times the norm in my local market and 30 times the average in the entire profession. While quite a few cosmetic dentists occasionally get such cases, I get them all the time. As a result, I'm able to enjoy a very, very high income, but still take over 70 days a year off for vacations, such as my 12-day trip to Italy with my daughter, my annual family cruise, and last year's 2-week cruise to Dominican Republic. My dental practice generates millions of dollars a year, yet I practice only part-time. In addition to the vacations, I lecture and I have a coaching program for dentists like myself, which is itself $1 million a year business. And that business was created from zero in less than 12 months. I tell you all this not to brag, but to support a few points about the phenomenon. Some years back, discovering the kind of marketing and positioning that led to this was a breakthrough. Dedicating myself to learning effective communication skills, that was important. But the biggest idea I'd put forth is that I'm not overpriced. Most people are underpriced. Most providers of every service undervalue themselves and what they do and ask too little of the market. Of course, there is a closed loop. I've invested a lot of time and expense in developing my expertise and in creating a better than first-class experience for my patients, including state-of-the-art pain-free dentistry and a high-comfort environment. Our office includes a spa, a relaxed reception area with a grand piano, and an internet cafe. We serve cappuccino. Ours is an extraordinary experience, not an ordinary one. I present myself as a unique expert. All of that supports my fees. The raising of my fees to be the highest fee provider in my area was a major phenomena trigger for me. After all, transaction size matters. It takes a lot fewer $50,000 cases than $5,000 cases to generate $1 million. But patients with such needs and a willingness to pay such fees for the desired outcome and the best experience are not proportionally more difficult to come by. That's something of a secret that very few business people, professionals understand. You can get where you want to go faster by taking bigger steps. When I embraced it, I did accomplish more financially in 12 months than I did in the previous 12 years. I went from running a regular, high-overhead, low-profit dental practice with 6 dentists and 35 staff members doing $2 million a year to my new practice with me as the dentist doing over $2.4 million a year. Now that's a phenomenon. These days I teach, guide, and mentor my clients and members of the service businesses, the professions, and the dental world.
Everybody we're meeting, everything we're hearing begs the question, what stops the phenomenon from happening for most people? What gets in the way? Rory Fatt, the CEO of Restaurant Marketing Systems, has some answers. And one of the clues is an interesting fact about Rory. Although he's an advisor and business coach to more than 5,000 restaurant owners, he has never owned or managed a restaurant himself.
I've certainly experienced the phenomenon in my own life. When I first encountered Dan Kennedy, I was operating a struggling business, home delivery of gourmet prepackaged meals. I think we're a little ahead of our time. Some big breakthroughs were Dan's observation that I was much more skillful at marketing than that business could benefit from, that the business would be valuable to restaurant owners as an add-on business, and that I would have a great opportunity in the restaurant industry as a marketing advisor. He saw possibilities for me I had not imagined or considered. When I expressed concern about being accepted as an expert advisor by restaurant owners without ever owning a restaurant, Dan dismissed it as unimportant. And he was right. I've learned that qualifications are far less important than value delivered. People hold themselves back by feeling inadequate, not based on the value that they can bring to the table, but based on credentials they may not have. People also wait for permission from somebody or some authority to do what they want to do, to act on their ideas. Dan talks about most people being rigidly conditioned to be ladder climbers, that exceptionally successful people ignore ladders and leap to the top. The phenomenon is really triggered by bringing great value to others. The more than 5,347 restaurant owners who I work with learn to turn ordinary restaurants into extraordinary businesses by creatively and dramatically improving the experience of their customers. I've surrounded myself with people who are experts in the operational aspects of the restaurant industry so I can bring comprehensive answers forward to all their challenges. But I have to tell you, the key ingredient is the marketing. That's how they get phenomenon-type results like these. Dick and Sherry Verano, owners of Billy's Chowder House, have increased their sales by $1,500 a day in only 9 months. Lisa Cramp, who owns When Pigs Fly restaurant, increased profits by 50% in just 2 years. And Linda Crossley and Jarrett Visser, who own Club Paradiso and Village Cantina, went from $300,000 to $1 million in sales in a little over 12 months. By helping restaurant owners get these kinds of results, I've been able to build restaurant marketing systems to a multi-million-dollar business, create $1 million a year coaching business in just 12 months, create another business, a customer loyalty program for restaurants, and take it from 0 to $2.5 million in just over 12 months. That business, Royalty Rewards, has branched out beyond the restaurant business and now provides customer loyalty and direct mail programs to retail stores of all kinds. Furniture stores, men's and ladies' wear, bookstores, auto repair shops, pharmacies, and even convenience stores. To trigger the phenomenon in a restaurant or in any business, you need quality information and ideas, you need confidence in those ideas to act on them, and you need to give yourself all the permission you need to act, not wait for anybody else.
Taking action without waiting for others' permission, without concern over qualifications, timing, circumstances, is obviously a recurring theme in the phenomenon experiences of the people we're meeting here. But there's a particular type of action that has the most power.
I finished high school in 1996, and at that point I only had a vague idea that there were millionaires being created daily, and I really knew I wanted to be part of it. And at that point I was dabbling with the internet when in 1998 I met a gentleman by the name of Corey Rudel, who at that point was 5 years my senior, but he really seemed to have figured out the keys to making money with internet marketing. And in fact, he became a young millionaire at a very young age, purely with his website businesses. Now, I was determined at that point that I would learn what he knew directly from him, and I did everything I could to convince this internet marketing genius to take me under his wing and mentor me. So it wasn't something he'd done, and he really wasn't that eager to do it because he was very successful on his own. But I was very determined, and I was very persistent, and I offered as much value as I could. And this really led to an incredible partnership. From there, we built the Internet Marketing Center from a small organization to a huge company now with over 100 terrific employees that are dedicated to helping hundreds of thousands of people around the world use the Internet profitably in either their present business or to start businesses entirely from scratch. We have over 800,000 people that subscribe to our newsletters, to our services every single month. We generated over $70 million in business during the dot-com boom. But we also never missed a beat when most of the people went bust on the internet. And how were we immune? That's a common question I get. Well, it's simple. We've always had a solid multidimensional business that heavily relies on strategies from the offline world. And those strategies come from one of our mentors, Dan Kennedy. Now, personally, I've experienced the phenomenon 10 different times, each in a 12-month period. And it's taken me from zero to being worth well over $1 million, having a beautiful home, indulging my personal passions. I get to travel the world. I get to take lots of exotic vacations every year. I have my choice of 2 Porsches to drive, and I'm the CEO of a company that's continually growing in strength. Last year we exceeded $20 million in sales, 100% on the internet, and we even had a $1 million day. Now, when I think about the start of my phenomenon experiences, I point to taking very determined action and never ever taking no for an answer when I discover an opportunity I want. And continuing the phenomenon, I've always sought out incredible mentors and do anything necessary and pay virtually any price to associate with them and learn from them.
Lee Miltier will be well known to many watching this. For many years, she enjoyed status as one of the busiest and most successful professional speakers in America, frequently appearing in major seminars with people like actress Marlo Thomas, spokesperson for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Zig Ziglar, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Tony Robbins, and of course, Dr. Phil. Her corporate clients as a speaker and peak performance coach, including NASA, Federal Express, and Disney. But her biggest personal breakthrough, her phenomenon story, began with her decision to sharply reduce her travel and reduce her financial dependency on the next engagement. And anyone now, in any business where success has become something of a trap, can learn from her story. Today, as a peak performance coach, she helps others make and follow through on important business and life decisions.
People who look at somebody like Jerry Seinfeld, who walks away from success at its peak and wonder about his sanity. On one hand, I do too, but on the other, I understand. Because a lot of people do not design their success. They wind up successful in a way that does not meet their personal preferences. For example, my success as a speaker gave me a good and rising income that took me away from my family and my home on the beach far too often, and was far more of a high-paid job than a real business. The particulars of my situation hopefully won't distract you. It's the principle that counts. Dan Kennedy, my most treasured mentor, and I kept talking about this situation until a solution presented itself. He said I needed to put my information, presenting skills, peak performance coaching expertise into a totally different delivery, not dependent on my physically appearing in front of an audience. Combined with that, he suggested a classic application of the old find a need and fill it among some of his clients and others in the information marketing field. Out of this came my Millionaire Mindset telecoaching program, which is not marketed publicly, but is provided to over 14,000 people through strategic partners in 12 different industries and professions. Again, the specifics of my business are not the point here. The principle is freeing yourself and giving yourself permission to find an entirely new and different way to deliver what you know or do in a way that is more pleasing to you. Following that decision, by the way, in just 12 months, I did accomplish more than in the previous 12 years because, for the first time, I created not only a greater income, but a steady, locked-in, continual income based on reoccurring revenues rather than separate transactions. I have since expanded this business, created another peak performance coaching program for the Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle members. I've purchased my own office building, acquired a $1 million piece of oceanfront property I'd wanted for 12 years, and become a more active investor. The point is, you can change now, in the next 12 months. Dan Kennedy is such an inspiration to all of us because he made his business interests support his lifestyle, and several times made radical changes on how he conducts business to support his lifestyle preferences. As an example, consider that for 10 years, he's been driving professionally in harness races, many years over 100 races a year. That requires not being away from his home track, Northfield Park, most Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So he stopped traveling for speaking, consulting, or business meetings. Dan requires all of his clients to come to him, almost all of his coaching and business meetings to be in his hometown, and he flies in a private jet rather than commercial to buy time. He does not use a cell phone, takes no incoming calls except by appointment, and works as a writer for days with no interruptions. You may think you cannot apply the strategy to your business. You are wrong. Dan has shown real estate agents, mortgage brokers, financial advisors, owners of chain stores, doctors, actually people in every imaginable business, how to do business successfully on their terms, even when they think they cannot. In triggering the phenomena, most people are only one breakthrough idea away and one courageous decision away, just as I was.
Can one idea, one decision, one connection really change your entire life in just 12 months? Meet health and fitness expert Ryan Lee.
I'm thrilled to get to talk about the phenomenon because I'm all about speed. I have that philosophy in fitness. One of my systems is a 4-minute workout dubbed the world's fastest workout by Men's Fitness magazine. But back to the beginning. In 2002, I was a burnt-out physical education teacher in a high school in the toughest part of the Bronx. My students were in gangs, getting arrested, doing drugs, and the environment was actually dangerous. I was dabbling with internet marketing in my spare time when I found Dan Kennedy. I wore out audio tapes of his, absorbing both mindset and practical marketing advice. I decided to launch my first serious internet project, and in just 8 months, doubled my teaching income and left my teaching job. In 4 more months, I was earning a 6-figure income, over $100,000 a year. I now own over 50 different membership-type website businesses, most having to do with health and fitness, run my own sold-out workshops attended by 500 people, I'm now earning a 6-figure monthly income, and most importantly, I have a business that allows me to spend all the time I want with my wife and our 2 young daughters. In just 12 months, I went from a poorly paid school teacher to having financial security and national celebrity. I'm now on the Men's Fitness magazine training team, and I was recently featured on the cover of Millionaire Blueprints magazine. My latest speed record was launching a new product and creating over $100,000 in sales in just 6 days. By the way, I'm just 34 years old. When I think about the phenomenon, I think about 3 things: a belief, a commitment to speed. Second, acquiring information and inspiration from credible sources from people like Dan. And third, acting on your desires.
Acting on your ideas without delay is something you've heard again and again here. Still, many people feel they lack the resources they need. Maybe that's what makes Gene Kelly's story so interesting. His resources were junk and desperation.
I had a small manufacturing company supplying major accounts that got into money trouble, which put us into money trouble. We were down to the last few dollars in the checking account, and I couldn't make payroll or the lease payments on our equipment. On my back burner, I had this idea for a how-to-do-it-yourself kit for something I'd done as a hobby, and I thought others would like doing as well. The kit lets you build all sorts of things from surplus junk. In the midst of our money troubles, and somewhat out of desperation, I placed a small classified ad in a particular magazine, and within weeks experienced the mail order thrill of finding my post office box absolutely crammed with $80 orders. I went on to sell over $1 million of that product, and as a result, I saved and reinvented my company. That experience and the additional interest of those customers led me to develop a vast catalog of how-to videos for hobbyists and for people interested in learning a trade or to start a business. We've even become a government-certified distance education trade school. We currently sell over $2.5 million in specialty videos every year, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. Our success and growth is rooted in a process I've developed to rapidly produce new video products and courses. In short, speed has been my primary strategy. I live in Napa Valley, California. I take frequent vacations. I send my son to a private school. I invest in residential and commercial real estate. And I'm able to pursue my personal interests, including how to educate people about success in life. For example, I'm working on a book titled The College Myth, Why You Should Not Send Your Child to College if you want them to be rich. I'm having fun, I'm making money, and I'm helping others.
Many people that have experienced the phenomenon have talked about lifestyle, not just money. Maybe nobody represents the lifestyle benefits better than Alexandria Brown.
Although we're meeting for the first time, I feel like I know you from your website, where you share everything about your life. And you have created your dream life, haven't you?
Yeah, I feel like I have. I've used the phenomenon to create $1 million a year income of my own that absolutely supports my chosen lifestyle. But if you told me 8 years ago that I'd be living here in a $1.3 million beach house, working from home, on my chosen schedule, being debt-free, supporting all the charities I want to, and taking tons of 2-week vacations, I would have laughed. Because back then I was trying to build up a business as a freelance copywriter. In fact, there's one night I vividly remember that I was supposed to meet some friends for drinks, and I went to the ATM to withdraw 20 bucks, and I found that I had only $18.56 in my account. I was just brokenhearted. I went home dejected, scared, and most of all, just wondering what I was doing wrong, because I was trying so hard.
I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, salespeople and freelancers can identify with that, trying so hard but not getting anywhere. So what changed things? What brought you here?
Well, I never really changed my business. I just changed my business model. And that's important because in my case, I found ways to switch from working hours for dollars and being dependent on individual client relationships to delivering my same information, the same expertise, the same help in other ways, what we call group delivery. And I became known as the e-zine queen, which is really showing people how to market themselves effectively with e-zines and email, and for my online success blueprint programs. Instead now of working with individual clients, I work with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and that number is always growing. And now I even have high-level coaching groups for women entrepreneurs. I know people are going to hear next from Rob Minton, and with him they'll see the same principle, but in an entirely different business. He didn't leave the business he was in, he just changed his business model. And in my case, I now work no more than 6 hours a day and never more than 4 days a week. And a lot of my income is on autopilot. I mean, it comes in whether I'm sleeping or whether I'm on another 2-week vacation.
Since we're talking about speed, how long did this transition take?
Well, I'll admit, and I'm sorry to say it took a few years for me to really get out of my own way and make important shifts in my thinking. And one thing is that success does not have to be linked to hard, difficult work and long hours. You do not have to sacrifice your life for it. But here's what's instructive. Once I got to that point, I was earning a good income, but in just the last 12 months, I tripled my income to over $1 million a year. I erased all my debt. I acquired this house. In the past 12 months, I manifested the phenomenon, and I achieved more than I had in the previous 12 years.
What do you attribute the in 12 months phenomenon experience to?
Well, as I said, finding and using a business model that lent itself to speed, changing my own thinking, and seeking out association with other people who had a broader, more creative perspective on business than I had. People who were achieving the same kind of success, speed, and lifestyle that I aspired to. I have to say that I think association is one of the most powerful forces for growth or for being held back. And I also have to say that my association with Dan Kennedy, Bill Glazer, and the people in their coaching programs has been a major influence, contributing to everything I've accomplished so quickly in the past 12 months.
Thanks, Allie, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Rob Minton is a young millionaire, just 36 years old. He's a real estate broker who, thanks to Dan Kennedy, decided to stop doing everything 99% of all agents do, everything he didn't like. No open houses, no showing homes, no discounting commissions. He started working only with investors. Now he's helping other real estate professionals reinvent their businesses too.
I was a normal, traditional real estate broker when I decided to change my entire real estate business and work only with investors who committed to a plan of reinvesting for wealth and buying multiple homes. And when I did this, everybody told me that I was crazy, but I proved them wrong. I went from struggling doing 85 transactions to 270 transactions in a year. The business income soared from $400,000 to $1.4 million. But best of all is I fell back in love with a business that I was just starting to hate. Then in just 12 more months, I went from one brokerage to having affiliated income for life offices in 70 different cities, from having a local business to a national business which generated an additional $2 million in yearly revenue. Combined, we work with more than 1,000 investors in 2006, and we expect to more than double that again in the next 12 months. Also in the past 12 months, I've created over 23 new passive income streams as an investor. I'm working less, I'm enjoying it more, and I'm spending a lot more time with my wife and my beautiful children. So here's what I'd like to say about the phenomenon. What everybody else believes or says does not matter. What you do is what really matters. Long-standing industry norms and traditions don't matter. You trigger the phenomenon by acting on your ideas. I think my experience proves that you can take an ordinary business and you can reinvent it as your ideal business, regardless of what anybody else thinks, says, or does. I also think my experience proves that you can create more wealth, independence, and lifestyle in just 12 months than the previous 12 years.
We've met many people with real drama in their phenomenon stories, but maybe none have as dramatic a story as the last person we'll meet here, Jim Canale.
18 years ago, I was living underneath the elevated train at Bridge and Pratt Streets in Philadelphia. Today, I own millions of dollars of real estate all around Philadelphia, 7 successful businesses, and even a radio program of my own. I was homeless, jobless, unskilled, and confused. I didn't understand money or how it worked at all. In 1994, I started pulling myself out of my worst circumstances. I taught myself how computers work by taking them apart and putting them back together again and studying technical manuals. I got a job as a network engineer with 0 formal education in the field, and I got a salary of $70,000. I spent that money like water, and I turned my newfound credit into a mountain of debt since I was so money-starved for so long. In 1997, I decided the solution to my financial problems was having my own business instead of a job, so I started a technology consulting company. This led to even more frustration. Soon, I was on the edge of bankruptcy. One day, I was complaining to another business person about how hard I was working, how much I was hustling, but still finding it impossible to get ahead. I expressed my enormous unhappiness with how hard I had to struggle just to get appointments with decision makers to present my services. He told me how he had recently escaped all those same problems and now had a steady stream of good clients coming to him, eager to do business with him, thanks to marketing strategies from a guy named Dan Kennedy. He pulled a cassette tape by Dan from his desk drawer and he gave it to me. That literally changed everything for me. But I want to make the point that for most people, it would change nothing. They would have shrugged it off or have been skeptical or never even listened to the tape. I find that most people stay stuck in circumstances that they're unhappy with because they refuse to open themselves up to new options. This film will be seen by hundreds of thousands of people, but only a relative few will take it as seriously as I took that little cassette tape. I immediately listened to it, sitting in my beat-up Pontiac in the parking lot. I got my hands on everything Dan Kennedy offered, and I went to work reinventing myself from beggar to marketer and reinventing my business. 36 months later, I sold that business for a few $1 million and kept 15%. I now own 7 successful businesses. I grabbed onto the principle of pay yourself first, took money out of my businesses and invested in real estate. I found good mentors, I studied, I applied myself. Next, I declared myself an expert, and I've now become America's real estate cash flow expert, teaching and coaching others who I reach with my own radio program in 5 major cities. The phenomenon is definitely happening for me now. Money and opportunities are flowing in like never before. The most recent side business I've created is producing over $250,000 of extra income every month. I've been homeless and I've been on the edge of business bankruptcy. What's gotten me so far away from that place to the millionaire's lifestyle, the financial security, the level of celebrity and fun I'm having now more than anything else has been my relentless, determined acquisition of the information I've needed. Discovering Dan's radically different approach to marketing was my first breakthrough. Discovering how to safely invest in real estate was another. When the information, the mentors, the associations I've needed have presented themselves, I've pounced on them.
There are literally hundreds of factors to coordinate in your life to trigger the phenomenon, but here are 5 chief factors. Number 1, you need to radically change your preconceived and ingrained beliefs about your own limitations, about fast versus slow, and about money. Number 2, you need an appropriate, viable vehicle. By vehicle, I mean a business or entrepreneurial activity. By appropriate, I mean well-matched to your own talents, abilities, know-how, and interests. By viable, I mean market-driven and capable of providing the fortune or fame or both that you aspire to. This may be your present business or your present business reinvented, or it may require finding and embracing new opportunities. Number 3, you need to understand and apply direct marketing and direct response marketing, as well as the full complement of direct marketing tools to the business. Traditional advertising and marketing is slow. Our kind of marketing is fast. Every person you've been introduced to in this film has this in common. They have learned about direct marketing and found ways to apply it in their present businesses or to start new businesses. As a matter of fact, no one should even think about starting a business without this knowledge. Number 4, you need a support network of teachers, guides, mentors, and coaches who substitute their own successful experience and blueprints evolved from it for your slow trial and error experimentation. Nobody ever triggers the phenomenon working in isolation or by reinventing the wheel. And number 5, you need to take action on your ideas and intentions.
You've met many different entrepreneurs living the phenomenon. You've seen and heard what they've accomplished in just 12 months and how they've accomplished so much more in their lives in just 12 months than in all the previous 12 years. Now the question is, what will you accomplish in your life in the next 12 months? When you invested in the phenomenon, you also received a bonus certificate with your unique code that, when redeemed at in12months.com, allows you to claim any 3 advanced guides of your choice from any of the extraordinary people you have just met in the phenomenon. It's up to you. The next 12 months starts right now.